you're better than what your mind is telling you. And find a balance where at every point in time that the light comes to push you back, you find the center. And that center is always anchored on what has been done for you. I want you to take time to say to yourself, every time it comes, remind yourself that you have a reference point. My reference point was my son, Tobeju. I'll close out with this. My son was a baby. The greatest joy of every father is to have a son, to have a daughter, to have a child. My son was born 3 months into being in this life. Every single day, he was ill. Every single day, he was ill. We go to the hospital, nobody could find out what was going on with him. The doctor said everything was okay. And one day, I got tired. My wife went to work at Diamond Bank. I carried Tobeju, my son. I put him in this pouch, and I carried his bag. I was one of those men that would carry my baby in my stomach and the pouch. I didn't care what people said. I didn't care what you said. It's your business. I carried my son and went to Antoni village. So a place between Antoni and Enugu village, there was a church there. It was a Tuesday. There was nobody in church in the morning. And I got in there, into the altar. Nobody was there. I brought out Tobeju. And I put him on the altar. I put him on the altar. And I said to God, that if you heal my son, I was going to do A, B, C. I haven't shared that far except with my wife. Sometimes when my friends make fun of me, even if they take over, make fun of me on some aspects of it, he will not understand the journey, but now he knows. And you know what? I carried Tobeju and left there. I had a strong conviction that it's been done. And 21 years after, my son never entered the hospital again after I left there. 21 years after. So find your own reference point. Find your own reference point. Yours might be different from mine. Find yours. When the storm of transformation comes, you need to be able to anchor on a reference point. My son is here now, sitting down with his wife and looking at me. 28 years after, he's alive. Against all the odds. So when things happen, I remind myself of the quiet morning in the Enugu, where I was carried helpless, no money, seemingly hopeless. But I had an anchor. And that anchor is what has kept me today. So regardless of what you're doing in life, young people, find an experience that you will hold on to as your anchor in what you do. That will take you through the storms. And more important, find a group of people, a coalition of thinkers that you will surround yourself with. Those people are people that will serve as your mentors, your sounding board. Professor Monsignor Biorige, he never accepts that I can walk on the ground. I always walk on water. That I became an advisor in Geneva against all the odds was because a man saw me and saw what I'm able to do without me saying it. It's important that you surround yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, remember I told you that I wanted to be a global consultant. 2 organizations I wanted to work for or with when I was growing up as a young man. One was the United Nations. The second one was the World Bank. I served as an advisor in the World Bank on their program. And with the United Nations, one day, I found myself in Geneva, invited, all expenses paid, to come and speak to global leaders in Education Transform in the United Nations podium in Geneva. Think about this. Go back to Oshodi, go back to Ariaria market, and transition that to somewhere in Europe. If I had seen here from there, I would have believed it. So wherever you are now, you are between the starting point and part of the point. You never ever give up. Never think that it is not doable. Find the right people that will continue to energize you. Tell you about the things you can do and the things that you have been equipped to do. see it. I didn't see it with Professor Monsignor Obioride. I did not see it with Chidiebere. It was Chidiebere that told Governor Sullivan about me. It was Chidiebere that made it possible for me to continue to help to train the Executive Council in the Enugu State for the last 4 years that Governor Sullivan was the governor. It was Obioride that mentioned my name to Governor Ndubisi when he was not the governor. It was a phone call. I was in his office in Geneva. I was going to speak and he picked up the phone and said to me, have you heard about somebody that's going to be our next governor? There was no election. There was no campaign yet. And he picked up the phone and called the governor, the current governor. And I got on the phone and we spoke for 2 minutes. 2 minutes! People are going to be the opening, but you must always be prepared. Always be prepared. When the governor said to me, come and serve as my secretary to the state government, ask the deputy governor. There were over 100 people in line. People that were qualified, that were thinking they would be. Look at me, a boy from Ariaria, a boy from Promotion, where I will now sit down in a room with 2 presidents. Because Professor Nego said to me as I closed, we were in the private boardroom of President Goodluck Jonathan. I was his chief of staff, Professor Nego's chief of staff. Usually when they go for those meetings, this was the highest decision group, the Presidential Action Committee on Power, as we were about to transition the power utilities. I sat down behind the minister. In that meeting was the vice president. In that meeting was the secretary to the state government. In that meeting was the coordinating minister of the economy, was your Wala. In that meeting was the GMD, was Denziani Alice Imadebe, the GMD of NMPC, and I can count the minister for Metro. They were the highest decision body apart from FED or as it relates to utilities. Nebo said to me, he calls me bro. He said, bro, the Addis Olumje meeting now is important. Guess why he said that? I had led Naples what he calls the war team. All his senior advisors were all reporting to me. Joe Aneke is one of the members of that team. He's sitting down in this crowd. And I sat down. Whatever opportunity you have, don't assume a big man concept and you miss learning. In that room, there were people that knew more than me, but I was their leader. I did not ascribe the title to the knowledge. I listened. I did not know that a moment would come that would change my life. As that meeting was going on, and they asked the question of the Minister for Power. The Minister for Power said, Mr. President, it takes 1 second, 1 sentence, your life changes. Said, can my advisor answer that? I was not planning for it. I was not prepared. That's why at every point in time, in transformation, be prepared. The door opens unannounced. You have to be ready to step in. And I got up. I almost died. I don't know if your life in a second you die and you resurrect and you wake up again. All these people were looking at me. The advisors were looking at me. If I messed up, the reputation of the man that called me. Remember I said responsibility. You must be responsible to the reputation of those that select you. That's right, sir. And I got up. I don't know what I said to you today. Or whatever I said must have made sense to the president. Today, 2 of us can sit down and talk, and he respects my view. A small boy from Ariaria Market on a transformation journey to where I am today. And I sit down in this at the United Nations at the 38th floor, where only heads of state go to. Somebody invited me because of what they heard. Somebody had worked in my team, and I didn't go to the 10th floor. I did not go to the 15th floor. I went to the 38th floor. That's where the Secretary General stays and the deputy. And as I came in, I saw Amina, and guess what? I changed my posture to reflect that eighth floor. There's a posture for them as you transform, then there's a posture for the 38th floor. Your voice changes. You take a breather before you make a sentence. You don't talk anyhow, because every word can change your destiny. And when I left there that day, I was walking down the streets of New York, and as the flags of the different nations were flying, I said to myself, Chidiebere Onyia, this is the beginning of another journey. Thank you so much. My name is Chidiebere Onyia.